views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello, everyone, and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren, Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up on today's show, we'll discuss a community health agency that's actually delivering critical and compassionate, peer-driven programs and services to our community. And then also, we'll learn about a not-for-profit organization that's dedicated to fundamentally reforming student debt and higher education loan policies. And then a little bit later on in the show, we're going to speak to the editor-in-chief of Laptop Magazine, discussing some new tech news and some newly released gadgets. If you have an iPhone, a Sony, or a PS5, you don't want to miss this very important segment. And then finally, we'll discuss tips on how to help increase focus and productivity working from home with career strategist and TV contributor Elizabeth Koraca. So stay tuned, because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I'm Daren, Jaime, and thank you for joining us. Today is Wednesday, October the 7th. And yes, you are watching Open, a live and interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV sets. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. You can also stay connected to us via social media on all of our platforms at BronxNet TV. Well, a lot has certainly been going on through the past week, but we're going to take you through a few things that's happening in our area with our Bronx updates. Bronxites took to the streets in front of Yankee Stadium, demanding team support of nearby communities and pay their fair share of community space. Our BronxNet reporter Kim Aline was there and has our story.
The Yankee Stadium has called the Bronx home for decades, but some Bronxites are now calling the team bad neighbors.
At the end of the day, the Yankees have been a part of our borough for many years, and they just haven't been a good neighbor here in the borough.
Bronxites rallied in front of the stadium demanding the Yankees pay up. Executive Director for the 161st Street Business Improvement District, Carrie Goodman, held several protests encouraging the Yankees to financially contribute to the community, a once thriving community which is now suffering from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Businesses in this neighborhood are on the verge of extinction. The Yankees, unfortunately, have chosen not to use some of the fabulous wealth that they have to help these small businesses.
The world-famous team is Major League Baseball's most valuable franchise, worth an estimated $5 billion. Goodman says the Yankees pay close to nothing for property tax and rent. Protesters are now calling on elected officials to encourage the Yankees to pay their fair share.
While Stadium Souvenirs and Stan Sports Bar in the dugout don't have enough money to pay their rent or taxes, the Yankees don't pay rent or taxes except for $1 a year.
The fact that we have a $1 billion organization that's here that pays $1 of rent is unacceptable. We know that if they pay property taxes or if they were paying rent, that money could be put back into this community.
The movement has garnered support from Mayor Bill de Blasio, New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer, along with several other elected officials. The Yankees released a statement in response to the protests and says the Yankees are committed to supporting their neighbors and community partners, working in conjunction with them to enhance the quality of life throughout the surrounding communities. Goodman says the rallying will not stop until the Yankees finally pay what they owe. To get updates on the next rally, visit the link below. Reporting for BronxNet, Kibben Aline.
Thank you, Kibben, and that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We encourage you to stay tuned because we got more open coming up right after this break. And welcome back. Health People is a groundbreaking peer organization that's actually helping people from low-income communities become leaders to effectively fight chronic ill health. Their mission? To empower and train residents of communities overwhelmed by chronic disease, as well as HIV and AIDS, to become leaders and educators in effectively preventing ill health, avoidable hospitalization, as well as unnecessary deaths. Health People has grown to become a multifaceted health agency offering a range of HIV and AIDS services for men, women, and families, as well as prevention and support services for hepatitis C, mental illness, and substance abuse. With recent reports indicating 12 New York City neighborhoods with COVID-19 positivity rates that have actually risen above 3%, what initiatives has the organization taken for COVID outreach and prevention? Well, we're pleased to be joined by two very special guests. Our first guest is the Executive Director of Health People, Chris Norwood, and also our second guest is also the Executive Director of the Bronx Public Health Office at the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, Anita Reyes. And we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Nice to
Thank
see
you. Thank you. And then, Chris, I guess we'll start and talk a little bit about Health People. I gave the long version, but for somebody who wants to be more familiar with Health People from layman's terms, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, thank you. I think what is the most important thing about Health People, we know the Bronx has the worst health of any county in New York State. But in working with the community, we've shown that the community can make so much progress against this. We started as a women's AIDS organization, and women just went out there. They did so much prevention, and women's rates have gone down. They also work with men. We do a tremendous amount of diabetes now. That's also very important for the COVID epidemic. We train people from the Bronx who have diabetes. Their family members have diabetes. They have put almost 2,000 people in evidence-based diabetes self-care education. That's the most any community group in New York State has ever done, possibly the nation. When they went into homeless shelters, they brought down, for people with diabetes, the rate of emergency room visits by 45%. So to me, the message is that when you help the community, educate the community, and have them become the educators, they know how to reach people, they know how to talk to people. You will make such progress, and we should stop being depressed about this and demand community models that work.
Yeah. Anita, give me a little bit about the borough of the Bronx. I mean, particularly, a lot of education is going on, but a lot of work is going on, and we've seen some very fruitful results recently.
Yes, definitely. And so the work that I've been doing and my team here in the Bronx is really working closely with the partners in the area to make sure that we understand the community and also understand the needs of the community. And so therefore, we've been doing a lot of engagement. We're currently contacting partners and community residents to understand what the needs of the community are. So giving information, like answering questions, making sure that people understand how to maintain themselves safe. And so basically focusing on the 4 core things that are making sure that everyone is wearing a face mask, making sure that folks are keeping 6 feet distancing, but also washing the hands is something that could prevent, from getting COVID, as well as if you're sick, just stay home and get tested so you could know if you have COVID. So really, we're working to make sure that people understand these messages, that people know that all our centers and the health and hospitals, clinics offer free testing, COVID testing.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about self-care, I think everybody needs to be engaged in self-care. When we talk about wearing a mask is self-care. We talk about hand sanitizer, that's self-care as well. But talk to us a little bit about the work that you do in terms of prevention for chronic diseases with HIV and AIDS.
Well, with HIV, we do a lot of outreach. We also do, as we do for diabetes, asthma, and other chronic disease, we do self-care courses, actually, courses that are usually 6 sessions long, so that people can really have an opportunity to ask all their questions and make sure that they understand things very well. Also, when people with HIV, as you probably know, but it's worth emphasizing, when they're in care and they take their medications, they almost, they're not going to transmit HIV to other people. If they get in good self-care and good control, then the virus goes down so far in their body that there's very little chance they'll transmit it to other people. So, in the same way I said for diabetes, we see people flocking to self-care courses. Unfortunately, the federal government and the state government defunded those right now when they're so important and important for COVID. But we see when you put serious education and people know you're respecting them and giving them what they need to know and giving them a chance to ask their questions and understand it, we've seen HIV go down. If we had more of this diabetes education, we would see that go down. And at least in the Bronx at this time, as we say, we shouldn't get complacent, but it's very satisfying that the infection rate for COVID in the Bronx has been brought down tremendously too. And the communities and public deserve a lot of credit. They want this information. So we and the Department of Health try and give it to them.
Let's talk about that. And Anita, I think you can jump in and talk a little bit about this too. When we talk about the Bronx actually having that highest infection rate, but then at the same time, we also see that we're doing a great job in terms of dealing with, new infections and things of that sort.
That there are a number of reasons why the relative success of seeing the Bronx numbers decrease. But, first and foremost, we have to thank the people of the Bronx who are really stepping up and doing what they're supposed to. And we do know that this is partly because of what we saw back in March and April. So right now, following the guidelines is amazing, right? Amazing work that the residents are doing, but also working with our community partners. And our partners have really helped because these are trusted entities in the community that are able to really share the information, share the message, help with ending this transmission. But I also have to say that the 17 years of our presence here in the Tremont section of the Bronx really have helped us collaborate with others and being able to kind of, be trusted among our partners. And I also wanted to just mention that we cannot do it alone. We need everyone. This is all hands on deck. Let's go out. Let's get the information to everyone. And I think this is what's going to help us. But I also do want to stress that we cannot let our guards down, right? We have to continue doing this. We have to continue asking people to wear masks. We have to make sure that people are social distancing. When I go to the supermarket, I'm the first one to say, excuse me, sir, 6 feet away. And so you have to remind people, and that's my job because I want to make sure that everyone is safe. But at the same time, we also have to make sure that we know our status. There's free entities in this neighborhood. We had 2 different approaches that we've used, which is the hyper-local approach, really using data to drive us to where the problem is. And so with this data approach, we're looking at our data to see where there's neighborhoods that have positivity rates and are low have low rates of testing. And these neighborhoods, we're doing these hyper-local efforts. We want to flood them with information, but we also want to flood them with testing. And so in the Tremont area, the Soundview area, we've been able to do that, working together with H&H, City Hall, and other city agencies to really bring everything to where people are. So it's just public health in action, right? We set up at a Catholic church, St. Simon, over on 182nd and Valentine Avenue. And there we just set up shop outdoors. We were able to stop people and get them tested. And the good thing was that within 15 minutes, they were able to get results. So it was rapid testing. And that really helped in terms of identifying anyone that was positive. So I just want to stress the importance of that, and also the test and trace work that is going on. It's very important. And the test and trace is really trying to get the community to get tested so they could know if they've been infected. If they're infected, then immediately they'll get a call from someone to help them navigate through, to help them understand the resources that are there, but also to understand where they've been. Have you been with other people? And people who are newly infected, who get a test and trace call, what they're really asking them is, can you identify where you've been for more than 10 minutes so that we could stop the spread? And that is the goal. So when I hear the word trace, I want to make sure that people don't think we're tracing you per se, we're tracing the virus.
Right. Hey, Chris, before we go, talk to us about what's happening in the future and how people can get connected.
Education, that sounds so corny in a way, education, but it's self-care education. And it works so well. For example, the diabetes prevention program, if people have high blood sugar, it's well proven. It reduces people's chance of getting diabetes by 60%. That's better than flu vaccine. Flu vaccine is like 40 to 50% effective. So we really need to move for chronic disease, for AIDS. For COVID, it's a combination of education and testing, and obviously very important, sometimes new medications if you do get sick. But for chronic disease, people just need to understand, our food supply is so sugar laden. One of the most important things we teach is to read every label, because you'll be in a state of shock. And even much salad dressing, the first ingredient is sugar water. And people are like, great, I'm going to be really healthy now. I'm going to eat a salad. And then they don't know, and it's not fair that they don't know that what they're putting on top is sugar water. So the education is key.
Yeah, education is key. It's so critical. I think the more people are armed with information, the better that they can make informed choices. As we've seen right here, when you have the highest rate of infection, but then at the same time, also we see we brought it down the most as a borough of the Bronx. That's something to be proud about. And so Anita and Chris, thank you so much for being with us and sharing with us here on Open. And we thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And just want to invite everyone to come and get their free vaccines. We're going to have free vaccination at our Action Center, 1826 Arthur Avenue on Wednesday, October 7th, from 10 to 2 p.m. That's flu. Very important. The flu vaccine.
Right.
I'll be there.
Okay. Well, we want to make sure that people do take part in getting that flu vaccine. And also, we want to let you know, if you want more information, what you can do is go to the website. And the website is healthpeople.org or nyc.gov/health. Well, we encourage you to stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We still have more Open coming up. We'll be back with another segment right after this.
Hi, I'm Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., and I'm making sure that the Bronx counts is my priority. That's why I'm urging everyone to fill out the 2020 census. The 2020 census is important because it would allow for the federal government to determine how much money and resources the Bronx is going to need for the next 10 years around healthcare, education, housing, roads, representation, and so many other things. What does it mean exactly? Just imagine if you are organizing a party or an event, and you send out 100 invitations, but only 50 people RSVP'd, and you only prepare for 50 people, and yet 100 people showed up. You're gonna be short of food, seats, tables, chairs. That's why it is important that 100% of us here in the Bronx fill out the 2020 census. It is easy, it is confidential, it doesn't matter whether you're a citizen or undocumented. We need everybody to fill it out. Now let's all get together and make the Bronx count.
And welcome back. Student Debt Crisis is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to fundamentally reforming student debt and higher education loan policies. Student Debt Crisis takes a personal approach to member needs by working directly with borrowers to understand their challenges, their fears, as well as their repayment obstacles and frustrations. Student Debt Crisis tackles the challenges of loan refinancing and also consumer protection policies with media and legislators, as well as educating borrowers and higher education experts with lectures, webinars, as well as special events. Now, with the coronavirus pandemic affecting families across the country, including student loan borrowers, what assistance and relief should be provided? Well, here now to tell us more is the Program Director of Student Debt Crisis, and we're pleased to have Cody Hounanian join us. And Cody, good to have you.
Thanks for having me, Daren. This topic is so important to so many families across the country, and obviously this is a crisis now with COVID-19, so I'm happy to be here to talk about this issue.
Yeah, let's go right at it. I mean, when we talk about student debt crisis, obviously it affects American families in a major kind of way. Talk to us a little bit about what you've learned about how the pandemic has actually affected families.
Yeah, so great question. You know, obviously student loan debt was a crisis prior to this pandemic this year. You know, we've been calling, we believe it is a crisis for families. We believe it's an economic crisis for the entire country. But now with the health and financial obstacles that have been created by COVID-19, we are facing two crises compounding one another. And so student debt crisis have been working with student loan borrowers since March to really address the financial obstacles that they're facing. And what we found is not only are borrowers, you know, obviously strapped when it comes to putting food on their table, many of them have reduced working hours, some of them even have additional healthcare costs. But we also found that the government's attempts to provide special relief for student loan borrowers hasn't made it to the communities that need this help the most. So Student Debt Crisis immediately started researching the impact of COVID-19 on student loan borrowers, and we polled about 40,000 student loan borrowers, and we found that Black and Latinx borrowers at a much higher rate were unaware of the federal relief provided to student loan borrowers. So there's an information gap that is happening right when people need to know about this help the most.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because there's some reform that's been proposed in terms of dealing with the debt crisis. But let's talk about that information right there that's so key, that's so critical, that many people don't even know about, and that's the assistance that's available to them.
Yeah. You know, thankfully, the federal relief for student loan borrowers was enacted automatically. So if you have the proper federal student loan, you have had your payments and interest suspended for over 6 months. And that is huge for people who are facing the financial burden that's been caused by this health crisis. What is really problematic, though, is so many people are unaware that these policies were created, and it's creating mass amounts of confusion. Now, if you've been working in this space as long as I have, you know that the student loan system is already complex and confusing enough. And now with rapidly changing policies that were well-intentioned, we are seeing the consequences of people being unaware of policy changes. So we are really dreading January 1st when federal student loan repayments are meant to start again, because we expect millions of people to be unaware of how these policies work. They're going to miss payments. They may fall into loan default, which has a huge financial consequence for families. So we are really doing our best to let people know what relief was enacted, when it ends, and what your responsibilities will be at the end of this.
And well, let's talk about responsibilities, because people want to pay their debts. I mean, honestly, they want to pay their debts, but there's this challenge. We know also 22 million Americans filed for the first time for unemployment. That's a huge number. So you got people who are dealing with unemployment, and many of those people who are dealing with unemployment are also going to be connected to student loan. So talk to us about how people are going to be able to navigate this, given the fact that possibly I don't have a job, and now I also have this debt that's right in front of me.
Yeah. First I have to put an underline on what you said, Daren. You are absolutely right. Student loan borrowers, they want to pay back their debts. These are not people that are asking for, quote, a handout. These are responsible, some of the most responsible and educated people in our communities. That's exactly why they have student loan debt. And they want to be responsible about this process. The problem is the student loan system has been broken. And while we have this special relief that was enacted by Congress and extended by the president, related to COVID-19, it isn't going to be enough. And so student debt crisis has really revamped our efforts and our call to pass broad-based student debt cancellation for millions of Americans. Now, if you think about it, big businesses, airline companies, they received huge support from our government to make sure that they don't go out of business. We need to make sure families aren't going bankrupt either. And the way to do that is to eliminate this debt burden forever, not just temporary relief. And so since March, we started a petition that got over 1.3 million signatures from Americans across the country who are calling on Congress to pass student debt cancellation, not only to lift the burden for individuals, not only to lift the burden off of families all across the country, but to boost the economy. Because we also know that part of this recovery isn't just a health recovery. The COVID-19 pandemic is going to require an economic recovery. And debt cancellation can boost GDP. It can increase jobs. It will help the entire economy as a whole. And so it's got many benefits. And we know millions of people support this type of proposal as well.
Yeah, I was talking to several people in Washington, D.C., and they pretty much shared with us that they are in favor, and these are legislators, are in favor of total student debt cancellation. How realistic do you think that is in happening?
Well, I was an author of a piece at the beginning of this pandemic called "Now is the Time to Cancel Student Debt." And I think that is absolutely spot on. We already saw the folks in DC, including Bernie Sanders, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and others, call for broad-based student debt cancellation. But now with the economic impact of COVID-19, we see people on both sides of the aisle really getting behind this topic. In fact, a recent poll showed bipartisan support. Over 56% of people on both sides of the aisle support some form of debt cancellation. So I think we are closer than ever. But I do want to note too, canceling student debt doesn't necessarily mean that we have to erase every single penny of debt for every single person. There is a lot of research out there that allies of ours have performed that shows even as little as $5,000 to $10,000 in student debt cancellation would help support the people who are in the most burdensome financial situations. This helps the people that need it most. So we support all sorts of ideas when it comes to debt cancellation. We just know we need long-term relief from this crisis.
Do you view the student debt situation as a form of economic injustice?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, it's a moral failing of our society that we've crushed millions of people with debt because of their choice to become educated. But what's even more concerning is we've found the student debt crisis skyrocketing just when Black, Latinx, and other minority groups were just starting to access higher education in a way that was going to be supportive for long-term improvement. So, we see that Black women have more student loan debt than anyone in America. That's a civil rights issue. These are the types of intersectionalities that more people need to talk about, because this isn't just a financial topic. This is a civil rights problem. This is a societal issue, and we treat it as such.
Yeah, I've always said that, if you owe a whole lot of money, of course you can't go back to school. Sometimes it also deals with you in terms of how you're able to function in your workplace. You're trying to find all these bills that you have to pay, and that student loan is a heavy burden, especially if you got secondary education, post-secondary education. These things begin to add up. And I remember having President Obama, as a matter of fact, visit the city one time, that in the process of him visiting the city, as the President of the United States, he said, "I just got finished paying off my student loan debt." while he was still in office. It's amazing. The president of the United States even paid off his student loan debt, but it took him until he became the president to pay it off.
Yeah, that's a great example as well, because, obviously Barack and Michelle Obama, they were still paying their student loan debt. But you have to remember, they were also parents with children who are about to go to college themselves. That is the situation of many people across the country. They are now paying their own student loans well into their 30s and 40s. And then they have to think about how they're going to invest in their children's future as well. Because we have to remember, we have a system right now where it's so costly to go to college that the system expects you to have parents who can help support the investment. That's a whole nother problem. But we know that this problem is a burden for families. You also started to go there as well. We have people in this country who want to do some of the most important jobs in our country that are often underpaid. Those are social workers. Those are healthcare professionals. Those are people who work with children in school settings, and their income isn't commiserate with how expensive it is to access this high-level education. And our student loan system is failing them. People are having to make career choices, they're having to make family choices, and they're having to make personal choices based not on what's best for them and their community, but what's best for their student debt situation. And that's just a moral failing for our country. And I think that's one of the reasons we need to fix this immediately.
Yeah, before we get out, Cody, I need to get you the opportunity to share with our viewers, how can they get in touch with you? How can they find out more information if they're a student out there that's saying, listen, I really need to be locked into this because this is going to help me possibly navigate where I'm trying to go? How do they go about doing that?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I would visit our website. It's studentdebtcrisis.org. And if you join us there, you can both be a part of the grassroots movement to end this crisis, and you can also tap into all of our free educational resources. So not only are we fighting for reforms, we are doing free clinics, we're providing free resources. We want to make sure people aren't burdened with this debt. And by doing so, then they're mobilized and ready to go to create change. So visit us there and become this part of this million-person movement.
As we said, a lot of people are dealing with this, and hopefully you've been able to provide some insight into how somebody can navigate and possibly overcome. Cody, Hounanian, thanks much.
Of course.
All righty. Well, listen, I want you to stay with us, but listen, we got more show, but also if you want more information about Cody and the organization, we encourage you, visit their website, studentdebtcrisis.org, and then also follow them on their social media platforms at at debtcrisis.org. All right. Well, we're taking a quick break. We've got more show. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.
When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.
Well, thank you for staying with us. Well, in a move that literally has shocked the gaming industry, Microsoft has acquired ZeniMax Media for $7.5 billion, giving Xbox the rights to games like Elder Scrolls, Doom, Fallout, and also Starfield. Now, ZeniMax Media is the parent company of Bethesda Softworks. Xbox purchase of Bethesda is one of the most expensive in video game history. Xbox has bought in a collection of beloved developers that can easily double the value of the platform. And the question is, what does this actually mean for Sony as well as PS5? Joining us now to talk a little bit more about this is the editor-in-chief of Laptop Magazine, Sherri L. Smith. And Sherri, this is huge news in the industry. Give me your thoughts about what this actually means.
This is big news. Like, I was so surprised when this started hitting the news feeds. Like, it's a new platform for Xbox last gen, but a gaming console or any piece of hardware without software, what is it? It's an expensive paperweight. So since then, getting geared up for this generation, Xbox has really, really doubled down on being about the games, not just the hardware. So this acquisition puts Xbox in prime position to get all those exclusives that PlayStation has been known for. So now, instead of Elder Scrolls 6 coming to all platforms, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just an Xbox exclusive, or maybe they do a timed exclusive. So maybe Elder Scrolls will be Xbox only for the first 6 months of launch. Either way they do it, this is a really big coup, feather to cap, whatever you want to call it, for Xbox, because not only do, as you said, not only do you get Elder Scrolls, you get Doom, you get Wolfenstein, you get Fallout, like the new Starfield that everybody's buzzing about, and we haven't seen anything for, but they've been teasing it for the last 2 E3s. So this is a big coup for Bethesda. I mean, for Xbox, and then on top of that, Xbox has also been slowly but surely buying out development houses. They have Ninja Theory. They have a big indie following. And it don't count out indies. That's where we get games like Cupheads, games that you would never really think about being a hit until they are. It's like, oh well, we need this. So Xbox is really, really doubling down on the software portion of this. And then after getting all the houses, they're making subscription services that would make it worth your while. So now you've got Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which basically for a subscription price, you get access to hundreds of games that span Xbox's catalog from the original to now. They just made the package even sweeter because they rolled EA Access into the mix, which means that all those EA titles, so if you're a big IFA fan, Madden, all of that, Star Wars, Battlefront, all of that gets rolled into that now, but I'm not sure that Sony should be worried just yet.
Talk to me a little bit about myself. I am on the verge of looking at the new iPhone that is coming around the corner. I went to my phone carrier. They said, hey, don't do it. You're eligible for upgrade. iPhone should be coming out. Is it something that I should be excited about? I mean, the iPhone 12 is supposed to be around the corner, and some other things are supposed to be happening in the course of the next week or so. But help me out. I'm going to be personal right now. Help me out. What should we possibly be looking for with what's happening with Apple?
Apple's always doing big things. So supposedly the iPhone 12 is going to be officially unveiled sometime next week. We haven't gotten any invites or notifications, but the rumor mill has been buzzing, and it's about time for another Apple event, and it would be an iPhone event. iPhone is, again, stepping its game up. Like, you're actually going to get, it's not going to be just one iPhone, 2 iPhones. It's supposed to be at least four iPhones. Starting, yeah. So you're going to have quite a selection to start with. So you're going to have your iPhone 12, which is going to be for the folks with the smaller hands that maybe they like the iPhone SE, up to the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which will give you OLED and 5G. It's going to have 3 cameras and LiDAR, so you can do AR stuff with it, AR being augmented reality. And there's going to be a slew of stuff. So, of course, the cameras are going to be a big thing. And we all know that Apple has some of the best smartphone cameras in the business. LiDAR is a big thing because that brings about augmented reality. And we've been if you've ever played Pokemon Go, you've seen it in action a little bit, but this will take things further. Like, it'll have depth, be able to measure depth, like you can place furniture and all this other cool stuff just by holding your phone up, going to a compatible app, and here's that entertainment set that I was thinking about putting in my house. Oh, this is how it looks terrible there. Let me switch over. You're going to be able to do things like that. And you're going to get the benefit of a beautiful OLED display. So you should expect really vivid color, deep, crisp contrast. And all of these phones are supposed to get Apple's A14 Bionic processor. So we're expecting a lot of power, and we're expecting a decent amount of performance, but I really can't speak on that until we actually get the system, get the phone in the house and test it, because the company can say anything, but you got to see if the proof is in the pudding. And the way that we do that is we call in all the phones, we purchase them. This goes for just about every product, and we test them, and we send them to our lab testers. Then they go out to our reviewers who add the anecdotal sauce to the mix.
So how long does it take? Because obviously, walk us through a little bit more of that process. So, you call in a phone, you call in a laptop, you have the opportunity to actually review it and let your people take a look, and then you write a review, of course. How long does that process take from the time that you receive it to the time that you're actually able to make a decision about a product's worth?
Well, from the time that it hits our lab testers to the time it gets to our reviewers, that's about, depending on the importance of the product. So let's say the iPhone came in. That's going to be a high priority product. So all the other products that are probably being tested, that they're going to go on the back burner. The testing will be done within a day, and then it'll be shipped to the reviewer. So let's say that takes a day if it's overnighted to get to the reviewer. So that's 2 days. The lab tester sends all the benchmarks that we run on the device to the reviewer, so they have that information in front of them as they start using the phone anecdotally, going out and testing the camera, seeing how the color looks, seeing how the performance actually works, loading it up with a bunch of stuff and see if there's any slowdown, checking out the interface, is it easy to use. So typically, for a regular product, we try to have a 48 to 72 hour turnaround. If it's an important product that's on a tight deadline, it's an ASAP product. So I've spent days where I've reviewed a product in the course of 24 hours because it's just that hot a product and it's under embargo, and it's important that we get it up to meet that embargo time. So the norm when there's no pressure is 48 to 72 hours. But if there's pressure, it could be a day.
We got a few minutes left, but let me also talk. I mean, it's a busy time for you, and obviously there are a lot of things that are happening. Let's talk about Prime Day. For somebody who doesn't know about Prime Day, I know that views like almost like Black Friday in some kind of way, right? Talk to us about what Prime Day is, and what are some of the things that actually you'll be looking out for, and we should be looking out for.
So Prime Day, when it's in its usual time frame, is in July. It's kind of like Black Friday in July. Amazon puts a bunch of products on sale at really, really good discounts. Like, you'll get a lot of deep discounts in Apple products. So if you were holding out for a Echo or an Echo Dot or a Fire HD tablet, this is typically the time when you can get those things for $10. Like in the case of Amazon tablets, they're pretty cheap to begin with, but this is the time where you could potentially get a Amazon tablet for $10, and they'll start selling them in packs. Get a pack of 3 for it's wild.
Wow.
But since COVID happened, and when COVID hit and Amazon supply lines were being affected, Prime Day was pushed back to next week, which will be the 13th and the 14th, and we'll be seeing all those sales then. Things that I'm going to be looking out for: laptops, of course. We've already been contacted by some laptop vendors sharing some details under embargo, so you'll have to wait for those, but definitely be on the lookout for laptops. Definitely be on the lookout for laptop peripherals, so USB mics, webcams, keyboards, anything that you can plug into your laptop to make it that much more efficient. Those things will probably be on sale. Tablets, smartphones, routers. So there's going to be a slew of things on sale. And the thing about Prime Day is that it's a 24-hour thing. So laptop staffers, Tom's Guide, Tom's Hardware, anybody in the future PLC family on the tech side, we're going to be manning the laptops for 24 hours straight, working on shifts, making sure that the deals are up to date. So anytime you press, okay, this is on sale, or this just went out of sale, but such and such might have it here. So we're going to be there 24/7 for a 2-day period, making sure that you have up-to-date information on all the deals.
Well, we want to thank you for coming and sharing with us a little bit about what we can look to in the future. I'm excited. I think a lot of people are excited. And if you're a gamer, obviously this is your season. Sherri Smith, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll bring it back so that way you can give us the latest update after things hit out. And of course, we'll have an opportunity to share more with Sherri. We'll bring her back again. Now, if you want more information, all you have to do is visit Sherri on her website at laptopmag.com. Once again, that's laptopmag.com. Or you can follow them on social media at laptopmag. Well, I want to let you know that we still have more show with you, I should say. So don't go anywhere. Open will return right after this.
It looks bleak. It feels bleak. But the city isn't shut down because our public services keep working. In spite of, and in the face of, the dangers, we can count on them. And to keep them working and funded now and in the future, we need to be counted. Self-respond now to the 2020 census at my2020census.gov.
And thank you for staying with us. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has presented a lot of challenges for many across the nation, including this one challenge right here, working from home. Recent studies show there are productivity pitfalls of working from home, and sometimes staying focused can be extremely difficult at times. Well, as companies are moving forward to the post-COVID future, many are considering a hybrid model of work. What actually can be done to increase your focus and productivity in working from home, and how can your business successfully implement a hybrid work culture for you and your team in the future? Joining us right now is our very special guest, none other than career strategist and TV contributor, Elizabeth Koraca, who joins us back again. And Elizabeth, good to have you.
Thank you for having me, Daren. I love to be here.
Love having you. And obviously, during this time, we definitely need you. I mean, I'm working from home, you're working from home, millions of Americans are working from home, but really navigating this thing. Talk to us about how painful it's been for Americans in trying to navigate this work from home environment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been tough for many Americans, especially those with young kids, people that are having to homeschool and keep up with their 9 to 5. It's been very stressful, very anxious. I mean, some people are actually on the flip side enjoying it. I mean, even those with kids and those without kids, some people are really embracing and loving the fact that they do have more time at home. So, and I think it all depends on who you ask.
And when we talk about asking people, if you ask most people, they'll say, listen, I do like being at home, but sometimes just the cabin fever is really what's getting people. And so there's a luxury, right? That some places are actually having an opportunity to work from a hybrid. Talk to us about the hybrid and how that's actually advantageous as well.
Yes, well, some companies have opened up and they're doing this kind of flex schedule with perhaps something like 1 week on, 1 week at home, 1 week in the office. And, right now it's working, but this is all uncharted territory. So what I would tell people and what I would tell employees is really be patient. This is the first time in history, that we've really had to do this. There are a lot of unknowns. There is a lot of anxiety in the air around this because right now with COVID, there's no end in sight, right? We know and be a vaccine. We're hoping it will be over by next year, but we don't really know. So embracing the hybrid, embracing the work from home, knowing that you're not alone, that we're in it together, reaching out to people for help, mentors, colleagues, friends, so you can kind of vent and just realize that, it's okay and it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, give me some tips, if you will. I want to know how is it that a person can actually work more effectively, particularly in the hybrid environment. Sometimes you're like, oh God, I'm home and I got to go in. I'm home, I got to go in. But give me some tips for effective hybrid working.
For sure. I mean, look, a lot of people like working from home and they think, oh, well, now I haven't had to pay for gas or other expenses, the commute, the train ride, I've been able to save some money at home, but it's like, just embrace whichever part you are doing. If you're at home and you're feeling sluggish and you kind of have that, that 2 p.m. slump, try to get out of the house, try to get out of the apartment. And I get it, a lot of us do live in smaller spaces, but you need to kind of refresh. You kind of need to reset, get out there, take a quick walk, see if you can take any of your calls or do some of your emails outside. And then those who are hybrid and having to go into the office or the workplace, speak with your manager ahead of time. If you have worries or anxieties, voice them, ask questions. That's going to kind of calm the nerves a little bit and make you feel more in charge and more in control of the scenario.
Yeah. And during this time, also, people are not just working hybridly, they're developing themselves. Some people are coming out with their own personal brands. Entrepreneurship is at an all-time high. People are finding ways to really navigate and come out to another level of COVID. Talk to me about that, developing your own personal brand, because it's somewhat needed now, because with so many people working or I should say not working due to unemployment, creating your own personal brand could be the key.
Yes. I totally agree, Daren, because so when you are at home, either working or not working, you might even have more time and just be more thoughtful about what you can put online. So when you're thinking about personal brand, thinking about your vision, how do I want people to perceive me? For example, you want to think about what sets me apart from others? What's most impressive about me? And then how can I show the world how great I am from home? And being online, social media is a great way to do that. And if you're not 100% sure, you just want to dip your toe in, a platform like LinkedIn or wherever your followers are, you can take advantage of this and post a thoughtful article with just one line about, check out this article. Being more active, perhaps liking and commenting. Who doesn't like to get, praise or accolades from what they've posted? So look, a lot of people might think, oh yeah, well that, of course, post online. But the bottom line is people are not doing it.
When we talk about not doing it, a lot of people talk about not doing it. I'm not going outside. I'm not getting out of the house anymore. And it sometimes can be a problem. So talk to me about these potential pitfalls, the pitfalls of not doing it and making the most of being at home, the pitfalls of not doing it and adjusting to a hybrid working environment. Talk to me about not doing it.
Yes, this happens to the best of us. We get stuck in a rut. Like, this is not the easiest time. There's a lot of pressure, stress, and strain on a lot of us right now, but it's okay. There are tips and tools you can use to feel better, to feel more alive, to feel a little bit more positive about the scenario. Schedule in your calendar the things you want to do. If I know going outside, and studies show going outside will help you, will freshen you up, will boost your mood a little bit. What else will boost your mood, right? Is it a certain meal that you're going to have that day? Is it a conversation that you can have with a loved one or somebody who supports you? Is it working on your personal brand and creating your strategy? Just even scheduling in the calendar, one post I'm going to create each week. So people have their eyeballs on me, so I stay top of mind.
Right. So if we're talking about, go back to personal brand for a minute, a lot of people are trying to develop theirs. What are some of the key tips that I can have if I'm developing my own personal brand?
It's really, what do I want to be known for? Think about other people out there, other people on social media that you really admire. What are they doing? How are they doing it? Do I like that persona? Do I want to do something similar? You want to be looking at people who are successful and replicating it. I'm not saying you have to copy them or be exactly the same, but that's a great role model for you to have. So you don't feel so lost and overwhelmed by thinking, oh my goodness, personal brand. No, you can do it. It's just doing it in small steps.
And doing it in small steps, a lot of people say, listen, I'm trying to go big quickly. And sometimes there's some failure associated with going big quickly. I don't necessarily achieve the goal that I want to. Give me some tips in terms of doing this in moderation, because I think COVID-19 has a lot of people pressing the panic button, trying to do things quickly and trying to get quick results. But the frustration can be, if I don't see the necessary results right away, I just might give up.
Exactly. That can often happen. And you said the magic word, Daren, which was goal. I want everybody to set goals. It doesn't have to be this elaborate document, but you want to visualize what you want for your work life and for your career. visualize it, write it down, what position you want to be in, how much you want to be making, what city you're in. If there's no obstacles in life, just write it down. That's how you want to think. And then month by month, you're going to be setting goals and then creating a little mini action plan, just a couple sentences underneath each goal. Then from there, you schedule it in the calendar, because what gets put in the calendar is actually what gets done.
That calendar's oh so important. But talking about calendar, let's fast forward a little bit. What do you see happening in the near future? How do you see things playing out in the business world in terms of employers and employees? How do you think things are going to work out?
Let me tell you something. I think a lot of employers are very surprised that employees are doing so well working from home. A lot of employees have gotten a lot of pushback in the past when, asking their boss if they can work from home. The fear has always been they're going to slack off. They're going to be on social media all day, watching TV, on the phone, eating, running errands. But because of COVID and the high productivity level from working from home, I think employers have been very, very surprised. And they're much more open now to, when COVID is finished, to let employees have maybe 1 or 2 days at home. So employees are happy and employers are happy because the work is getting done.
Yeah, but we also do have this huge unemployment rate, right? And I think also the job market, you got to talk about that. It's going to be really scarce. And so making your presence felt is going to be important when people are actually out there trying to seek a job too.
You are so right, Daren. And I think it's important to reach out and ask for help. Someone I used to work with in the past reached out to me on LinkedIn, haven't spoken to him in maybe 5-10 years. And he let me know what happened, and he was looking for a new job because he got laid off. And you know what? I connected him. I sent him to different people. I check in with him because I've been laid off before. I know how it feels. So try to put yourself in someone else's shoes. If you know people have been let go, they're looking for work, see what you can do to help. Put your own feelers out. Even if the people you're asking say, oh, I don't have anything right now, at least you're putting this person top of mind. Or if you're asking for yourself, you're putting yourself top of mind when that position comes up in potentially 2, 3, 4 months from now. It's not wasted. It's not wasted when someone says to you, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have anything right now, or oh, I don't know.
But is it better now? I mean, what's the best way, do you think, right now to actually look for a job? I think that's going to be the key question, too, because a lot of people are saying, how do I look for a job? Is it just internet plunging, or what's the best way to really tackle that aspect?
But the best way to find a job is to ask people people you used to work with, old bosses that think highly of you, the people that know your work and will put their neck on the line for you by recommending you. Those are the people who are going to go to bat for you. So what I would say in this scenario, know what you want. Make it clear to the person you're asking for help. Make it clear that they know what you want to do. Even if you're sending an email, just make it so clear so they can forward it on, because people don't have time. People are busy right now, almost busier than they've ever been. So just make it easy for whoever is going to help you.
All right. Well, Elizabeth, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us, and tell people again how they can get connected to you.
Well, you can check out my website at Elizabeth, Koraca.com, or any of my social media handles at Elizabeth, Koraca.
All right, Elizabeth, always great to have you. Thank you for being with us here on Open. And always, when you want some strategies on how to be better about the workplace, life, Elizabeth is definitely a good person. That's that career strategist that comes with that great information. I want to let you know, everybody, unfortunately, we have come to the end of our show today. I want to thank our guests for joining us, but most of all, I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast on Bronx Channel 67. If you have Verizon Files, that would be Channel 2133, or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. And of course, if you want a brand new episode of Open, be sure to tune in on Friday. My girl, Rena Valentine, will be bringing you a brand new, fresh episode focusing on arts and entertainment. For all of us here on the set of Open, I am Daren Jaime saying take care, God bless, and most of all, keep this show and this channel wide open. We'll talk to you soon.